The room is quiet, not a concert hall, something smaller, a Paris salon, sometime in the 1840s. 20 people, perhaps 30, close enough to hear someone shift in their chair or take a breath. At the piano sits Frédéric Chopin. He hasn't begun yet, and for a moment, it's not clear that he will. This is a strange kind of anticipation, because in the 19th century, great pianists weren't supposed to hesitate. They were supposed to arrive and dominate. Audiences expected projection, power, the kind of brilliance that filled the largest rooms in Europe. That was the world of Franz Liszt, but Chopin never quite belonged to that world. Liszt turned the piano into spectacle. Chopin did something else entirely. He avoided large public concerts whenever he could, not entirely, but noticeably. Instead, he built his reputation here, in rooms like this one. Private salons, small gatherings, no stage, no distance, and no need to play loudly. This was his preference, but it was also a pattern. Over the course of his career, Chopin gave far fewer large-scale performances than most virtuosos of his time. Part of that was physical. He was often in fragile health with limited stamina. But that doesn't fully explain it, because even when he did perform publicly, contemporaries often remarked on the same thing: the sound. Not weak and not lacking, but restrained. It was controlled, somehow more inward, as if the music were never meant to travel far. So back in the salon, the silence stretches just a little longer than expected. Chopin sits still, not performing stillness, not creating drama. He's just waiting. Then, almost without announcement, he begins. And the first sound is softer than anyone anticipated. Not tentative, not uncertain, precise. The kind of touch that doesn't push the sound outward, but seems to gather it inward, to gather the audience into the mind. This is what many listeners describe: a flexibility, a rhythm, a subtle shaping of time, what we now call rubato, and Chopin's was special. But more than that, there was a sense that the music was being spoken, not projected. You don't sit back and receive it, you lean forward. And slowly, imperceptibly, the entire room does the same. In a large concert hall, that kind of playing can just disappear. It doesn't compete well with space. It doesn't announce itself, which might have been exactly the point. Because whether he realized it or not, Chopin wasn't trying to fill the room. He was trying to change how the room listens. Now, from a modern perspective, it's quite easy to miss this. We're used to scale as a measure of greatness. Bigger sound, bigger venues, larger-than-life presence. But a lot of the time, Chopin's music just resists that. A lot of his music asks for proximity, for attention, for a kind of listening that isn't passive. Because the music doesn't grab you by the throat, it entices you into his world. So perhaps the question isn't why Chopin often played quietly. Maybe it's why we expect great music to be loud at all. Because in that small room in Paris, with no stage, no distance, and no spectacle, Chopin wasn't failing to be heard. He, whether he knew it or not, He was choosing who would truly listen.